Welcome to Oyate Today. Oyate in Lakota means people. Oyate Today is sponsored by Security First Bank, your financial partner since 1898. Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on. Member FDIC. Hi, welcome to Oyate Today. I am your host, Richie Richards. Oyate Today is produced by Tim and Jackie Gallego. Tim's an enrolled member of the Oglala Sioux tribe. Our guest tonight is Sarah Pierce, Manager of Indian Education for the Rapid City Area Schools. Thank you very much for being here, ma'am.
Yeah, thank you. The late night with Richie Richards. It's an honor to be here.
Hey, thank you. It's an honor to be with you as well, so thank you. Sarah, could you tell us a little bit about yourself for those of us that have not met you and have not, become aware of who you are?
Sure. I'm currently a resident of the area now. However, I'm originally from Rocky Ford, South Dakota in the Badlands, so spent my elementary years at Rocky Ford and then Red Cloud High School before moving away with my boyfriend then, who's now my husband, Tyrell Pierce, and then our eldest son, Thomas, at that time. We moved to Nebraska, where we spent 10 years. My parents are Bill and Terry White, and they still reside in Rocky Ford. And
So you grew up on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation?
Absolutely. I'm Oglala, yes. So in the Badlands, riding horse, doing all that fun stuff.
Hey, sweet. That's fun. Yeah. You and your family, you mentioned, had lived in Nebraska, and you had lived there for 10 years. What did you do while you were there in Nebraska? In Omaha, and I believe it was Lincoln?
Yes.
Yes.
So we actually started out in Lincoln. We actually went down there because I was pursuing a degree in what I thought would be dental hygiene. And then, after a series of events, fortunate and unfortunate, I ended up in education and my role in Indian education advocacy. But through that transition, our family of 3 expanded to a family of 6. So we had 3 more sons in Nebraska. And then after spending 4 years in Lincoln, we moved to Omaha, where we spent the last 6 years before returning to Rapid City.
6 kids, that's amazing.
Oh, no, 6 total. We have 4 sons.
4 sons.
Thomas, William, Richie, and LT, little Tyrell, and then my husband Tyrell, so I'm outnumbered.
Oh, okay, cool. Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so what else did you do while you were in Nebraska? Then did you go to Creighton then?
Yeah, well, I did my undergraduate at the University of Nebraska-Lincoln, and that's where I fell in love with education. And I had a professor named Frankie Condon. She's Dr. Condon, and I don't think she realizes the impact that she made on my career choice, but she really helped me find my voice as an advocate of Native American education, and that's kind of what put me on that path. And then that path took me to Creighton University, where I pursued a degree in secondary education. So
what was that moment when you decided education is where I want to be? What was that deciding factor in your life? What happened?
Well, initially I left my hometown, and I didn't intend on ever coming back, just because a lot of the opportunities I didn't realize could be. I had a lot of positive role models back home and a lot of mentors and advocates there, but I couldn't envision myself as basically an agent of change in what I thought would change the education system. And so being there, I remember doing a presentation in Dr. Condon's classroom, and she stopped me midway through and said, why do you want to change? It was basically about change, and me desiring a change for myself and not realizing the potential I had within. So it was through that experience. I remember being in the classroom the very day it happened, and how that changed, and how I knew wholeheartedly that I needed to pursue a degree in education too.
Sure. Have you stayed in contact with Dr. Condon?
Well, she is actually my Facebook friend, so I don't know if that counts.
Yeah,
we like each other's things, but we haven't had like a quality reconnection lately.
Sure. I'm sure she admires you as well. What brought you back to Rapid City then?
So I spent 6 years with the Title VI Indian Education Program at Omaha Public Schools. And so after being there for a while, my family and I had a yearning to come back home. My husband desired a position that actually benefited our tribe directly. And so he was actually exploring possibilities, and then came across the vacancy at Rapid City Schools. So it's my current role, but in Rapid City. So, I mean, the stars aligned. I guess I don't know how else to describe it, and then here we are. So
yeah, I understand that you have some, I guess your grandmother went to, was it Rapid City Indian School?
No, actually, both of my grandmothers went to OCS, so Oglala Community School. However, my grandma was among some of the first nurses to start at the Susan. So yeah, so she worked there for the entire duration of her career, you know. And she passed away in the 80s, so I've never had the opportunity to meet her, but you know, I live vicariously through stories and things like that about her. And then my paternal grandma did a lot of work with advocacy in Rapid City. So my parents grew up in Rapid City. My siblings and I grew up on the reservation, and so having that transition from being a reservation student and then opening my eyes to the urban student needs has been quite the experience.
And so in Omaha then, when you were working in Indian education over there, what was some of the challenges, what were some of the things that you dealt with in Omaha, I guess? And we'll talk about Rapid City in a bit.
Yeah, so the Omaha student population, the indigenous student population, is pretty intertribal. I mean, we had more than 45 tribes represented there. In addition to that, the tribes indigenous to the area consisted of the Winnebago, the Omaha, the Northern Ponca, and the Santee Sioux. And so with those 4 very different tribes, we didn't have a specific focus as far as language and culture is concerned. Considering that a great deal of our Lakota children were down there too, we just had to help them find their voice and identity there. In Omaha, our students are a lot more disenfranchised just because there are a lot more schools in that metropolitan area, and so being able to access all of them through the eyes of Title VI was a challenge, but a unique, great challenge.
So what was one of your successes out there? What did you accomplish, or what are you proud of, one of your proudest moments out there?
I think some of my proudest moments include actually some of the direct successes of students. And the students did that themselves, but being a part of that process and watching them blossom into young adults was amazing. I had one student who actually traveled from Nebraska to the University of the American Indian in Crazy Horse.
Wow.
And so that was quite an accomplishment. And then we've had a number of others pursue post-secondary opportunities. So just really being a witness to that is amazing for me.
That's awesome. Now you moved back in July of 2017 to Rapid City, is that correct?
Correct.
And so what did you do when you first, so you got this position in the Rapid City area schools. What did you first do? What was that first few months like whenever you got that position? What was some of your, I guess, those initial things that you had came across or wanted to do with the program?
So I knew coming back to Rapid City that I would have some extremely large shoes to fill because my predecessors did a lot of the major heavy lifting in terms of community healing and bridging those relationships and establishing solid programs. And so really sitting back and seeing how the program operated from start to finish was really helpful for me. In addition to sitting back and assessing the water, for lack of a better term, we also had 4 different consultations happening simultaneously throughout the course of last school year, which helped determine some of the new things that we're doing this school year.
Yeah.
So we had a district-wide comprehensive evaluation, we had a Title VI comprehensive evaluation, and then we had staff and community consultations as well that helped kind of determine the way that we changed the program coming into this school year. Sure.
And for our viewers that are not aware of Title VI, could you kind of explain that a little bit and kind of give some background on that?
Sure. So Title VI is a federally funded program funded by the U.S. government, obviously, to meet the unique academic and cultural needs of our Native American students in urban areas. Although Title VI funding does transcend beyond urban areas, the bulk of it is allocated to urban districts with 10 or more students, Native American students, and it's just designed to add that supplemental programs and services to help them culturally and academically so that they are able to exceed state standards and then be academically prosperous.
Could you give an example of what kind of support services or supplemental services that are provided to these Native students?
Sure.
Yeah.
From our Rapid City perspective, we have right now we're focusing on a lot of mental health services. We have hired 2 brand new social workers.
Sweet.
Yeah, we're also doing an intentional integration of the Oyate Shakohin essential understandings. So the state recognizes the state recognizes them as state standards, and so we're trying to get them implemented across our district and start to assess the level of implementation that's occurring across the district, and then to what fidelity. And then we also have some Lakota language initiatives and some really amazing partnerships that coincide with all of these.
You know, Sarah, let's take a break, but I want to learn a little bit more about those initiatives and especially
Yeah.
the language program. So we're going to take a break. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
You can't predict life's ups and downs. You just give it all you've got to stay on top. But it's easier with a partner like Security First Bank. Since 1898, we've been riding with you through the country's biggest ups and downs. And this is where we'll stay. Security First Bank, a relationship you can count on. Member FDIC.
Our school has great students and dedicated teachers, but we need our community volunteers to help us to provide a broader view of the many ways a good education can point to a bright future.
Did someone say volunteer? Our team at Black Hills is here to help. In fact, we sponsor events and projects, and our employees volunteer for organizations throughout the Black Hills, including partnering with schools to help students learn more about life outside the classroom. Extracurricular, extra fun.
Native Sun News has been voted the best weekly newspaper in its class for 2015 by the South Dakota and North Dakota Newspaper Associations. You can find a copy of the Native Sun News at many businesses and vending machines in Rapid City and the surrounding area, and on all 9 reservations. We publish every Wednesday, so advertisers and subscribers can reach our diverse readership by calling 605-721-1266. The Native Sun News covers the other side of the story.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. Once again, our guest tonight is Sarah Pierce, Manager of Indian Education here in the Rapid City area schools. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's been an awesome discussion. I'm very proud of the fact that you're here tonight.
Thanks.
Earlier in the last segment, you had talked about your predecessors somewhat, but I just wanted to kind of get a little bit more perspective and basically what have you gained from your predecessors coming into this position?
I think the biggest thing that I've learned or that I've benefited from their work is that I really stand on their shoulders, because if you talk to any advocates, and yourself included, across the city who are doing a lot of that heavy lifting in terms of community relations and community healing, a lot of that really heavy lifting took place years prior. And so I think Rapid City is really at a place right now where we have a lot more investment beyond just our Native community who wants to see healing happen systemically across sectors. So I feel like just being able to lean on their advocacy and the path that they've laid out so far, and being able to just take that torch and run with it has been amazing and very humbling.
Definitely. I appreciate you acknowledging, we don't give enough credit to the people who have come before us, and I appreciate you saying that. So do you think that do you feel that you have the support of the district, or do you?
Absolutely. Like I mentioned before, I feel like in Rapid City, I think the stars are kind of aligning in such a way that it is making for advocacy to be a lot easier than it used to be. I guess I don't want to say easier because it still is a tough role, but it's making it so that they can see the value in things and they can see how things are shifting. At Rapid City Schools, we have a team of exceptional leaders who have been avidly supporting our initiatives and have embraced it and given us full direction in what we're doing. So
Sure. And so Let's talk a little bit about those team initiatives. What are some of those initiatives, and what is it that you're trying to accomplish?
Yeah, so going into the next 4 years with our Title VI program, we have 4 primary initiatives. The one, like I mentioned before, is that Oyate Shakoin Essential Understandings Initiative. We have a Lakota language. We have a trauma-informed initiative, and that coincides with our social workers that we newly hired. And then we also do a lot of work with culturally responsive teaching, and that includes a partnership with Ty and Tamara Miyasato. We also have been dealing with a lot of partners, really. RAI, or Ateapi, has been an amazing partnership for us. The Lakota Language Immersion Program out of Thunder Valley, it's another one. And so we just have a team of people doing this work, and which is amazing. And I really feel blessed and grateful to be among our team, because our Title VI program has a team of experts who are very passionate, knowledgeable, and informed about what they want to do and how they're going to do it. So it's just amazing to be a part of that.
Let's talk a little bit about the Lakota language being taught in schools. Where is it available, in what schools here in Rapid City, and who's teaching it actually?
Yeah, so at Central High School, we have a revered elder in our community. Harriet brings teaching at Central High. She's been there for a number of years. That's a district-funded position at Central High School currently. Title VI has historically had a position at North Middle School. And then now we have expanded to include a position at General Beadle. And so students who sign up can be involved in the courses at North and Central, but all students at General Beadle get exposure through specials with Lakota language. And our 2 teachers that we have under Title VI are doing amazing, in addition to the work that Harriet's doing at Central.
Sure. We've had Principal Carrie on from General Beadle on the show in the past, and she was just very excited and passionate about having the language being taught there. So.
Oh yeah, it was great. When we initially proposed the idea to her last year, she was totally on board, because we had it just as an enrichment course last year for 2nd grade students, and we just saw so much from the students, and she valued the program enough that she was allowed it to to create the partnership that we have at full time there. So hopefully, in a perfect world, we'll get all of the schools to have that in some capacity.
At least available, yeah. Definitely. You had mentioned social workers twice now, and what value do they bring, and what is their role exactly? What are their kind of day-to-day, jobs?
So the social workers were hired really to meet the needs of our high school students. So we have 2 social workers, both MSW social workers and beyond, and they're working at Stevens, Rapid City High, and Central. And so we have one who's full-time at Central, and then one who's 50-50 between Stevens and Rapid City High. And they're working with students to basically, when we think about education and step back to a 500-foot view, our students aren't going to achieve if their basic needs aren't being met. So our social workers step in to help students plug into resources and help them navigate through mental health issues and things like that. The really cool thing about our social workers is they're not afraid to be out in the community. They're getting out there. They're working with families, students, and the school. So it's been amazing to see them. Both of them are very competent in what they're doing, and they're teaching me a world about social work that I had no idea.
So they're going into homes then?
Yes, correct.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah,
that's
they
amazing.
do a lot of communication with parents as well.
Let's see. What have you done in terms of community development, kind of working on that community, improving community relations in Rapid City? I know that you've been kind of doing other projects as well outside of your job, but what have you been doing for community development here in Rapid City?
So I think in order to answer that question, I just got to step back a little bit, because as a professional, I have my professional duties, but then as a Native American community member in Rapid City, it's also my I believe it's my civic responsibility, as I was taught by my parents and grandparents, that we give back by being a good relative. So with that in mind, I'm really passionate about community healing in all aspects, and so a lot of that role comes into play with, for example, I've worked with the police department on a healing initiative. We've also done some things with other leaders in the community to provide services for students mostly, but really just trying to do what I can to promote and support community healing initiatives.
Yeah, no, and you have to acknowledge the fact that you're, you know, a leader in our community as well, and not just a community member. So,
Yeah.
you know, you definitely want to. And so, in terms of giving back, what have you done as far as, you know, any programs or any?
So I would say, specifically speaking, I guess most recently, my peers and colleagues, Amy Sazu and Whitney Raincounter, and I organized a prayer circle at Lakota Homes recently, which was really, I mean, that was a really beautiful experience. We had a lot of elders and community members and
Nice.
cross-sector community there, so that was great. And then we had some students there, and it was just a really beautiful experience to see everyone come together for prayer and healing. So.
Definitely. I want to thank you for that too. We're going to take a break, ma'am, but when we
Okay.
get back, we'll learn a little bit more about Sarah Pierce and the work she's doing here in Rapid City. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
I want some more.
What's he doing?
But he can't.
Look at him. It's just not done.
Please, sir, I want some more.
More? More?
More? Please, sir.
He has asked for more!
Thank you.
What?
Well, he did say please. Sir.
Yes, he did. And thank you.
Yeah, and thank you.
He's a wonderful boy. A delightful boy.
Please, and thank you. Pass it on.
Thank you.
Youth and Family Services Prenatal to 5 Head Start program is enrolling now. This is a free preschool program for children ages 3 to 5 and a home visiting program for children prenatal to age 3. Both programs offer family support opportunities. If you are pregnant or have a child 5 years old or younger, call today to inquire about this free family program designed to enhance children's physical, social, emotional, and intellectual development. Give your child a head start with Head Start. Call today.
Being connected to him with the earth.
Positive pride. Pride of being Lakota.
Look around you and look at your culture. Look at the people who care about you. There is hope. There is always hope. There will always be hope.
Suicide isn't the Lakota way. If someone you know needs help, please call 867-HOPE, a public service message from the Lakota Voice Project.
Hi, welcome back to Oyate Today. Once again, our guest tonight is Sarah Pierce, Manager of Indian Education for the Rapid City Area Schools. Thank you so much for being here, ma'am.
Yeah,
It's been an
thanks for
awesome
having
discussion. Now, in doing these different community development and your role as the Manager of Indian Education, part of that is building these relationships, building these allies within our community. How important is that role of, I guess, that need for allies? How important is that for all of us to work together to accomplish one goal or many goals?
Well, allyship is extremely important to community healing. So a lot of times when I do presentations with cross-sector groups, one of the things I like to leave with is the fact that in order to be a good ally, so when we're in a room of cross-sector leaders and say a person of color brings a critical perspective to the table and the room fills with that awkward silence because nobody really knows how to navigate that. But then at the end of the meeting or convening, when you get to the parking lot or the hallway, you get bombarded by people who said, oh my goodness, it was so great to hear what you had to say in there. But the importance of that allyship comes in that moment. Instead of waiting to come out into the hallway to discuss it, say it in the room. Because a lot of times when, especially in terms of racial relations, when we have allies who have peers in there who may be on the fence and not quite sure where they sit, hearing someone from, who they revere as a peer will actually, encourage them to be more, be a better ally, I guess you could say. But that involves taking a lot of risks. And so allyship is something that's a big ask, but it's also really extremely vital to community healing. And I think it's absolutely necessary.
Do you think in the year or a year and 4 or 5 months that you've been back in Rapid City, do you think you've seen healing?
I have seen healing, and I would just say that there's a lot of things at play right now. Like I mentioned before, there's so many people on the ground doing so many great things that we are seeing a lot. Like I left the area 10 years ago, and just being in Rapid City frequently because of a lot of my family was up here. It's an extremely different environment now than it was when I left 10 years ago. So I would say yes, I see a tremendous amount of change and healing taking place.
Definitely. What's some of the feedback that you've received kind of personally or out in the community that you've heard back about your job and your position? What's the feedback that you've been receiving as far as Sarah Pierce as the manager of Indian Education?
Well, I think the biggest testament to feedback about myself really comes when I hear feedback about what our Title VI team's doing, because you hear a lot about there's not a single person on our team, who hasn't been praised for the solid work they're doing. Our Lakota language teachers, our Oyate, Shakoi, and Essential Understandings team, and our social workers, and even our office management staff, they're just working so diligently. And when I hear amazing things about them, and I get a lot of emails regarding their success, I feel like I get to live vicariously through that success as well.
Sure.
So that's awesome.
Sure. And as far as the district, how has the district received you then?
Very well so far. I mean, it's been, like I said, a great transition. I started at a time when a lot of our new district leadership started, so that really allowed us to onboard together and really grow together. So I feel like we're kind of a growing family, learning more about each other and our strengths and weaknesses, and being able to work collaboratively to affect change is really what it's all about.
Do you have any short-term goals then for, say, this school year or the next year or so?
So I think right now I could say that we're doing a lot of the short-term goals that I had initially starting the year. I wanted to demonstrate the need for all of the programs that we're implementing, and then capacity build. So our team's doing a phenomenal job of demonstrating the need, proving their competence and roles in their schools in the district, and I really feel like that has been an accomplishment in and of itself. And then promoting that community healing. Right now, the school district has a comprehensive trauma-informed initiative. So we're undergoing a book study that talks about various forms of trauma and how the implications of that trauma is seen in our classrooms. So it helps us be better leaders, so it's great.
Sure. And briefly, any long-term goals for your position?
Yes, I would just like to see that this position be an agent among the team of those who wish to affect change or continue affecting the change in Rapid City. I see a lot of progress being made in terms of community healing, and I think it can grow even greater. But I'm just excited to be here right now and honored to be here and really working alongside some really great people.
Well, you're doing an awesome job, man. Thank you very much for coming on our show tonight. And thanks for your leadership. I really appreciate it. I want to thank Prairie Edge for hosting our show tonight, and just kind of throw it out there that Prairie Edge is an awesome place to come out and do your Christmas shopping. So please visit Prairie Edge in downtown Rapid City. I want to thank our producers, our sponsors, and I want to thank you for making Oyate Today a part of your night. You've been watching Oyate Today, brought to you by Security First Bank.
Way